This is the story of the librarian who saved civilization. In a world where knowledge truly meant power, and its destruction often symbolized the end of an age, one man risked everything to ensure that the wisdom of ancient times would not be lost forever. His name was Cassiodorus, and his legacy is one of the most inspiring yet little-known stories from the annals of history. Picture this. The year is 493 AD. The Roman Empire in the West has fallen, and Europe is entering what many historians would later call the Dark Ages. Chaos reigns supreme. Amid the power vacuum and turbulence, knowledge, particularly written knowledge, was in grave danger of vanishing. Libraries were looted, scholars were silenced, and books, vast repositories of ancient wisdom, were burnt or discarded as mere firewood. But not all hope was lost. Enter Flavius Magnus Aurelius Cassiodorus, a Roman senator, philosopher, and scholar. Cassiodorus wasn't just a man of letters. He was a visionary who believed that the treasures of human understanding, from philosophy to medicine, must not be erased, but preserved. He took it upon himself to be the steward of humanity's intellectual heritage. Cassiodorus was born into a wealthy and influential family in southern Italy. He served as a high official in the court of Theodoric the Great, king of the Ostrogoths. Theodoric had a vision of uniting Gothic and Roman culture, and Cassiodorus was instrumental in shaping policies that protected Rome's classical traditions under Gothic rule. Unfortunately, as the political winds shifted and Theodoric's successors proved less capable, the Western world tilted further into cultural decline. Realizing that political reform alone couldn't salvage what was left of Roman civilization's intellectual legacy, Cassiodorus made a radical decision. In his 60s, an age when most would look towards retirement, he withdrew from public life to found a community in southern Italy. But this wasn't to be a monastery like any other. He envisioned a unique fusion of religious retreat and intellectual sanctum. Thus, Vivarium was born. Vivarium wasn't just a monastery, it was essentially Europe's first university. Cassiodorus believed that religious contemplation and the preservation of knowledge went hand in hand. He trained monks not only in prayer, but also in the painstaking art of book copying. Remember, this was long before any printing press existed. Copying a book was a laborious, error-prone process. Yet, under Cassiodorus's guidance, the monks at Vivarium meticulously reproduced texts, treatises on medicine, astronomy, law, theology, history, you name it. But Vivarium was more than a scribal workshop. Cassiodorus insisted on creating an environment that encouraged intellectual growth. The monks were provided with the best tools available for their delicate work: polished scribes' desks, magnifying glasses, and ink made from precious ingredients to ensure durability. He also set high standards for accuracy and demanded that errors in copies be openly corrected. What made Cassiodorus's mission even more remarkable was his open-mindedness. While deeply rooted in Christian faith, he valued and preserved pagan classical texts. Works by giants like Plato, Aristotle, and Cicero were copied alongside Christian treatises. He knew that all forms of knowledge, secular and religious, were important for understanding humanity and the world. Vivarium quickly became a beacon of learning in a time when Europe was haunted by ignorance and superstition. Through its walls, some of the greatest intellectual achievements of antiquity were saved for future generations. It is no exaggeration to say that without Vivarium, and without Cassiodorus's vision, some of the most foundational texts of Western civilization might have vanished into oblivion. And yet, as with many great civilizations, Vivarium itself did not last indefinitely. Eventually, after Cassiodorus's death, the institution declined and was abandoned. But by then, Vivarium had already seeded Europe with outstanding scholars and scribes, spreading its ethos and saved knowledge far beyond its walls. Cassiodorus died around 585 AD, at the staggering age of 95, at a time when most people barely lived past 40. His monastic experiment could easily be seen as the prototype for centers of learning that would eventually flourish in medieval Europe, paving the way for the Renaissance and modern academia. But wait, here's the twist. Have you ever wondered about that phrase, monks copying manuscripts in dim candlelight? That iconic image, ubiquitous in popular portrayals of the Middle Ages, has roots in Cassiodorus's work. Before Cassiodorus, the idea of monasteries as places of study and learning, not just prayer, did not firmly exist. Librarian pioneered this merger of the spiritual and the scholarly, creating a model that would define European intellectual life for a millennium. And yet, despite inspiring so much, Cassiodorus and his heroic act of intellectual preservation are often overlooked in world history. Why is that? Perhaps because his role was subtler than that of conquerors or kings. Cassiodorus didn't build empires or fight battles. He saved scrolls and championed scholarship. And in the grand scheme of things, his work arguably mattered even more. So, the next time you pick up a book, fire up a search engine, or marvel at the expanse of human knowledge, spare a thought for Cassiodorus. Remember the lone librarian who, when faced with the collapse of civilization, chose to protect its soul rather than succumb to despair. Cassiodorus believed that future generations could learn from the past, and thanks to him, we do. Would history have been different had Cassiodorus not acted? Almost certainly. His work saved countless ancient texts that shaped disciplines as diverse as medicine, philosophy, and engineering. And through Vivarium, he exemplified the idea that knowledge is worth defending, even if it takes a lifetime. In a world where information often feels overwhelming and disposable, Cassiodorus's story is a reminder that the knowledge we so easily access today once teetered on the brink of annihilation. Cassiodorus didn't let it fall. For that, civilization owes him a debt it can never fully repay.